Drury Lane on Tuesday. 19-year-old Ariana Ornelas is charged with aggravated assault. A judge has set her bond at $75,000. Now, police are still investigating the shooting incident. They say they expect to arrest more people. Police report that they don't believe the 19-year-old shooting victim suffered life-threatening wounds, even though he was hit by several gunshots. And people in the northern big country have an opportunity to get their COVID vaccine this weekend. Haxel and Stanford excited to receive more than 800 doses. And part of that excitement is not only felt by people getting vaccinated, but community leaders who don't want residents in their communities to feel left out. KTAB's Miriam Chamberlain has the story.
For those who have been waiting and receiving your COVID vaccinations, the wait may just be over.
I called right away. The nurses talked to me and she said, you can come in anytime.
Haskell Memorial Hospital is offering over 700 vaccines this week.
She said you don't need an appointment, just show up and we'll get you in as soon as possible. And here I am.
And like Elsie, anyone 16 and older is eligible. The hospital is on a time crunch because the vaccines will expire after a number of days, which is the reason why they're making it available to everyone.
750 vaccines in 5 days can be difficult to get out. And so we do emphasize the 50 and older, and we do emphasize frontline workers, teachers, daycare workers, but we want to open it up to everybody because we don't want to waste any of these vaccines.
Along with Haskell, the city of Stanford also received a number of vaccines. And Mayor James Decker says it has been very difficult to get these vaccines in such rural areas.
To get 850 doses of vaccine in these two communities is a big deal.
The last thing these two communities want to do is let these vaccines go to waste because,
number one, that's poor use of resources, and number two, that would potentially affect their ability to get more vaccines moving forward.
As a reminder, once you get your first dose, you must return to the same location around 3 to 4 weeks later in order to receive your second dose for the full protection. In Abilene, with coverage you can count on, Miriam Chamberlain, KTAB News.
All right, thank you, Miriam. And COVID-19 vaccine clinics will be held today through Monday, March 15th from 8 to 5. Vaccines are available on a first-come, first-serve basis. And BigCountryHomepage.com is proud to announce its streaming partner of the City of Abilene's State of the City address. The address, to be delivered by Abilene Mayor Anthony Williams, will stream on BigCountryHomepage.com at 7 p.m. on Sunday. It will also be viewable on the newly designed BCH2Go mobile app and both the KTAB Facebook page. Mayor Williams is expected to address the COVID-19 pandemic, economic issues, and other important topics. And turning now to COVID-19 news, the Abilene Taylor County Public Health District is reporting one death this afternoon, a woman in her 80s. Her death is the 377th in Taylor County. The district is also reporting 16 new cases and 34 recoveries. That puts the number of active cases to 391. Of those patients, 15 are in the hospital. Thursday, Hendrick listed that in just more than 2% of the district's total hospital capacity is occupied with COVID patients. However, there are still no ICU beds available. And when the pandemic is behind us and a chapter in the history books, we'll have a place to visit some of the key moments that marked this past year. Natalie Brand reports from Washington on the growing collection of artifacts that tell the story of COVID-19.
When critical care nurse Sandra Lindsay became the first American vaccinated against the coronavirus, it was a turning point that would go down in history.
I hope this marks the beginning to the end of a very painful time.
That Pfizer vial now carefully preserved at the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History. Northwell Health in New York donated Lindsay's vaccination materials and scrubs, marking the beginning of a growing COVID-19 collection.
We want to make sure that we're documenting the story from multiple perspectives: patients, practitioners, scientists, politicians, teachers, all sorts of individuals for whom the pandemic has had a very direct and immediate impact on their lives.
Curator Alexandra Lord says the Smithsonian even put out a call to the public soliciting ideas and photos. So far, they've collected more than 600, documenting both the heartache and the resilience of Americans.
How do you think this time in history is going to be remembered?
It's really hard. I do think that this will be seen as a major seminal event in American history, and that it will mark a period of before and after It does seem that there will be some radical changes just in simple things like perhaps how we work on a day-to-day basis, but perhaps even how we think about the inequities in our society.
Lord says the collection will help ensure the impact of the pandemic is not forgotten, nor the advances in medicine, which are starting to pull the nation back from the most significant public health crisis in a century. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Now, the museum is still closed to the public, but eventually the vaccine artifacts will be a part of a broader exhibit called In Sickness and in Health that will explore America's efforts to contain, control, and cure illnesses. And still to come on KTAB for you, a 13-year-old girl becomes a published author, hoping her story brings comfort to others. And we'll go to Austin in our KTAB throwback when the Sweetwater Jaycees brought the Rattlesnake Roundup to the Capitol. Current include in live and local. You're watching KTAB for you.
The scenery in this West African village.
Have you ever felt like your life was
This is KTAB for you.
A French artist has people joining hands across the world in a mission to promote peace and kindness. CBS's Ian Lee is in London with the story.
The scenery in this West African village is about to change as a French artist armed with a spray gun and biodegradable paint works his magic. While children watch and wait in anticipation, a giant piece of land art is taking shape. Hours later, drones reveal what artist Saipe created. He says, "My idea is to make the world's largest human chain by painting these intertwining hands that build bridges between people and cultures." This local fisherman says, "It's important to be united, to go hand in love. That's why we let him beautify our home." Saipe didn't stop at one. He made a second fresco on a beach that was once one of Africa's main slave trade hubs. A giant hand seems to be slipping into the ocean. Another is pulling it back. Saipe says it's a symbol of mutual hope and kindness. The idea began in 2019 with a line of hands leading to the Eiffel Tower. Since then, the 33-year-old, dubbed the King of Land Art, has painted 37 pairs of hands across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, spreading a universal message of togetherness when the world could use it the most. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Well, Saipe paints more than hands. He also created landscape art to draw attention to COVID, climate change, and the flight of refugees. Well, it takes a special kind of author to get a book published before their 13th birthday. Someone who's able to share wisdom born through adversity. And CBS's Chip Reed introduces us to her.
Have you ever felt like your life was suddenly taken away from you? Well, I have.
12-year-old Nell Choi read that from her newly published book, My Hospital Story. Today, Nell is healthy enough to play lacrosse with her family, but getting here was a long and painful road. It began suddenly when she was 9.
I was always so tired. I was completely dizzy.
After an MRI, doctors said she had a rare disease.
Neuromyelitis optica spectrum disorder.
She spent nearly a month in the hospital with a feeding tube and what she calls torture devices to help her breathe.
Blow out again, blow out.
Were you scared?
Scared, yes.
But the hardest part was yet to come. A year of relearning how to walk, speak, even eat. Her 4th grade writing teacher, Claire Norris, gave her a journal to record her feelings.
I was astounded. Her wisdom at a young age is beyond words, really.
Nell decided to turn the journal into a book to help other children with serious illnesses.
To just know that you're not alone in what you're going through.
Using her hospital story to give other children hope. Chip Reed, CBS News, McLean, Virginia.
And still to come on KTAB for you, rattlesnakes at the Texas Capitol. Our KTAB throwback will show us when the Sweetwater JCs took a trip to Austin. But first, Sam, we have a stormy weekend ahead. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be excited to be inside at the Coliseum this weekend over in Sweetwater.
Yeah, severe weather season's upon us. Tomorrow we have a 40% chance after lunchtime for showers and thunderstorms. That jumps to 80% tomorrow evening as a cold front comes through and a dry line. And we're looking for some severe storms likely with large hail and damaging winds. Things settle down on Sunday with sunny skies, but it will still be windy. Stick around, the weather's next.
Current include in live and local. You're watching KTAB for